So today we're gonna talk about the jellyfish. No, not that kind of jellyfish. Now there is a company named MI.MU, or I believe officially it's called MI.MU Gloves Limited. Now last year already they released a plugin called the Jellyfish. Now I had never heard of it before, but immediately I thought it was very, very interesting and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So let's take a look at the Jellyfish. Alright, now here we are. This is the Jellyfish. This is what it looks like. But now, what is the Jellyfish? Now, they themselves on their website say, so the Jellyfish is a granular synthesis engine. And I would add to that, it's all about movement of sound. Now, let me show you how it works. Now, the first thing we would have to do is to load a sample, and there are three ways we can do that. We can load a sample from the audio library that it comes with. It already comes with some samples. We can also load a sample from our computer, like this, or we can just drag and drop. And then we can also record something directly into it. Now, I'm just going to open a sample from the audio library. Let's just choose the first one. And already you can hear something going. You can hear some pulsating going on. Now, before I say anything else, I'm going to let you listen to the sample, what it sounds like without any effect on it. So I think you get the idea. It's basically just some guitar chords with some reverb on it. Okay, now let's take a look at these two modes up here. So at the moment it is on drone mode. And that means that you will continually hear a repeat of the sound that corresponds to where the jellyfish, so where on the sample, so to speak, the jellyfish is. So if I move the jellyfish, you will hear a different part of the sample according to where the jellyfish is. Okay, now if we switch to event mode, you won't hear anything. That's because the jellyfish is now kind of waiting for you to trigger it somehow, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now first let's take a look at the controls down here. Now let me first switch to drone mode. And then the controls to the left here, this is what they call the primary controls. So first of all, we have the grain interval. So each of these, let's call them repeats, is what they call a grain. I'm probably not explaining it very well, but I hope you know what I mean. Now we can make that grain interval longer or shorter. At the moment it is set to 300 millisecond, and we can make the interval bigger, which slows it down, or we can make it shorter, of course. All right. Now, then we have the grain length, which is pretty self-explanatory. We can make it longer, or we can make it shorter. All right. Then we can also transpose. We can transpose up. We can transpose down. Yeah, and we can transpose in semitones and also in microtones. Okay, now let's take a look at the secondary controls. So first of all, we have the panning width. So each grain is panned randomly either to the left or the right. And with this, we can set the range. Now, at the moment, it is set to 0%. So 0% from the center is going to be the center. So each grain is now panned to the center. But if I turn this up, let's say I turn it to 100%, which I will do in a second, then again, each grain is randomly panned to the left or the right, ranging from 100% to the left and 100% to the right. So it could be anywhere. So let's listen to what that sounds like. All right. So if I set it to, let's say, 50%, somewhere around, now again, each grain will be panned randomly to the left or the right, but ranging from 50% to the left and 50% to the right. So that's how that works. Now then here we have pitch wobble. It's the same, it's the same principle. So with this you set a range for the jellyfish to pitch each grain up or down. At the moment it is set to 0%, so there's no pitching going on. But if I turn this, let's say I turn it all the way up, let's do that. Usually that's not going to sound very good, but if you set it to somewhere around 10% or so, you can usually get some very nice results with that. Then here we have buffer jitter, which is a little bit more difficult to explain, even though it's very simple. So again, as I told you somewhere at the beginning, what you hear depends on where the jellyfish is on the sample. And what you hear is exactly the center of the jellyfish. Now, if you turn this up, you will also give it a range for the jellyfish to move a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. Again, I'm going to turn it all the way up, so probably you'll know what I mean. Let's go. Okay, so that's buffer jitter. And then finally here we have smoothness. Well, that is pretty self-explanatory. All right, guys, finally, let's take a look at the playback settings. First of all, the grain position. Now, at the moment, it is set to manual, which means that if we want to change the position of the jellyfish, we would have to do so manually. And we can do so by either using our mouse, as we've been doing, like this. Or we can use MIDI. Now, how that works is like this. So first we would have to engage the learn function, and then we can use our MIDI keyboards to select some keys. So first of all, let's select a C. All right, now let's change the position of the jellyfish again. Let's say here, and let's choose another key. Let's say D2. This is E2, and let's do one more. This is going to be F2. Okay, now let's switch off the learn function. And now we can use our keyboards to move the jellyfish like this. Okay, so that's how that works. So if we now switch the grain position to auto, let's do that, something will happen. And what happens is that the jellyfish all of a sudden starts moving. Oh my goodness. And the way it is moving depends on the playback mode. At the moment it is set to loop forward. By the way, over here with playback speed, we can increase the speed. Okay, so the playback mode is now set to loop forward. We can also make it go backwards. All right, we can also make it randomly walk, and that means that it will go to a certain position and then it will turn around. Yeah, I'm waiting for it to turn around again. Okay, there it is. So that's how that works. We can also let it randomly jump, and it will start jumping around and move from there again. Okay, like that. And then finally we have the LFO setting, and that will make it go from left to right and back and forth. Okay, and then finally over here, reverse, and that will reverse the grain. And that will give you that reverse sound, obviously. Now, I'm going to skip the monitoring section because I think that's very self-explanatory. Now, I have to say I'm genuinely very impressed with this plugin. I love what you can do with this. You know, you can create some real awesome sound effects. Possibilities are endless. Great plugin. Anyway, that is the Jellyfish for you. Now, if you want to check it out for yourself, I will leave a link in the description below. Now, they will also let you try out the program for 14 days. So use it, check it out, and let me know what you think about it. All right? Thanks for watching, guys.